Well, hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ, and welcome to a table talk, tabletop. I guess it is table talk role playing game channel in which we talk about, at least today, primarily science fiction. We're going to be talking about Fallout uh, today, maybe the rest of the week, depending on how much we can get out of it. And today we're yeah. Um, I really appreciate what you sent to me, Drew. Thank you very much for those who are able to participate in this live as well, because you guys are my co-hosts, and uh, I like to ride by the seat of the pants. And I did finish the Fallout series, the television show. I have not played the video game. Yes, I know it exists, and I've seen some gameplay, but I thought we would do a little bit of uh, a, a an armchair dissertation of the humor in Fallout and how we could use this type of humor in our tabletop role playing games, and how honestly a lot of this humor is already implemented. But I think this is a good way to add another tool into our toolbox for coming up with stories and getting people immersed, and um, why it is that there is a substantial part of our tabletop experience that's like beer and pretzels, what they call basically casualness in role playing, and the value in that rather than like the dramatic, traumatic, express all of your feelings type of playing as well. Because yeah, yeah. Yeah, Debian says also probably should have delayed this episode since Fallout 4 is getting new updates on Thursday, the 25th. I did not know that. I did not know that. Um, but I thought today we would talk about the um some of the humor and kind of break. I thought this is going to be very strange because you really don't want to analyze a joke, but that we could analyze some of the humor and understand, like, oh, maybe if you're a person who really doesn't like humor in your role playing games, your tabletop role playing experience, maybe you may find this to be as I did, to go, oh yeah, I get that. I understand what that kind of humor is, and didn't realize we were even doing it. We, as the people at your gaming table experience, are going through the same thing. Yes, never played the game, only know the lore, but I did play Wasteland back in the day. Yeah, okie dokie. Thank you very much for this segue. So we're going to talk about humor and why it is that Fallout works with such humor. And I so I did this 30 seconds before we went live to because I was mulling over it in my head. Damn you. and and there are some really funny and bizarre and crazy lines that are in Fallout, and some things come up very, very often. And so what I have here, I have at the top, of course, this is for the benefit of those that are just listening in. I titled it "Humor Equals Tragedy Plus Time." If I can, I don't remember who came up with that. Let's see, equals, yeah, tragedy plus time. Oh wow, it just came up too. Um, or comedy equals tragedy plus time is a quote attributed by Goodreads and other sources to Mark Twain, who may have said. And the idea is that we humor, why it's tragedy plus time is because sometimes we can look back at a moment and laugh at ourselves and laugh at that moment because it's a release of tension that a very horrific, tragic, sad event could have happened. And now, mind you, tragedy could just simply be someone stepping in mud. That tragedy could be someone broke their arm. It doesn't even have to be lethal, but there was some. If we look at the actual evidence of what happened, it was a downfall for someone. And then we look at it like, ooh, I'm glad it didn't happen to me. And our release of tension becomes humor. And then comedians very much use this to their benefit by using language and creating situations in our head that we all can nod our heads to and realize that we have a shared space when it comes to various uh, somewhat dark experiences people have in their life. And then we laugh at that because we go, wow, I'm so glad I came out of that on the positive side. Or I'm glad it didn't happen to me and someone else went through it. So I learned from it and didn't have to. And so, yes, he says, I also put a link to the What Makes You Special videos in Discord. Okay, that's cool. A lot of humor seems to be inspired by Dr. Strangelove. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but humor falls aligned with some of these. So we have ourselves uh, to give people an idea of what I was talking about and how Fallout benefits has right, at least the televised version of Fallout benefits from these. So we have gallows humor, observational humor, ironic humor, day in the life humor, absurdist humor, and callback, or what I call inside humor. And gallows humor, of course, is literally making light of very dark instances, such as some of the extremely terrible things that happen in the Fallout show. There are side jokes made about how someone gets uh, hurt or killed in some manner. Now, Fallout doesn't go very deep into this at all. There's a particular type of humor that's used in. I should have placed it first, but there's a certain type of humor that's used in the Fallout series, and that has really drawn people to it. But gallows humor essentially is making a literal joke out of how someone died, or the ways in which someone dies, or characters mentioning how they would prefer one death over another, or things like that. And it could be something as simple as, if I can be very dark, it could be something like someone, I don't know, getting shot, and then you get some brain matter in your mouth, and someone makes a joke about, oh, I think I swallowed some, brain or a chunk of skull or something like that. Or someone's body gets crushed and you look down at them and go, I bet I could fit that in a overhead compartment or something pretty nasty, right? But it is, we're going to get into our second part. Gallows humor is about making fun of the literal death and destruction and violence caused to other people. And the second part that I think Fallout really, really, really uh, focuses on is observational humor. And observational humor isn't necessarily a joke, but it is, and this has been used in television shows that don't use laugh tracks any longer, to really ramp up the uncomfortableness of observational humor. And that is making an observation about a thing, and the observation itself becomes a joke, but not the observation. So, um, yeah, yes, Drew says, I like that even though Lucy is in many cases the comic relief, she is never played for slapstick. Correct. And if you think about it, the comment, okie dokie, and she sees things, she's played straight. There's I think his name is Phil Hartman. Let's see if I can get this comedian's name. Phil Hartman, yes. Phil Hartman passed away 1998. Phil Hartman was um, a master comedian of the straight face. He was his whole. Leslie Nielsen's also another one of similar style, where his entire comedy was completely straight facing it. And there's a comedy in someone looking at an event that we all think is either humorous or uncomfortable, or uh, uh, strikes us as like, didn't you notice that thing? And this person with a straight face makes various comments about the thing, and then that becomes the joke. And so observational humor falls a line. Scheisse said Phil Hartman wife shot him to sleep. I don't know how he passed away. Yeah, gallows humor only works in real life. I don't know if you want to practice that, but there's many a person who's laughed. What are those videos where the montage videos of people getting caught trying to perform different uh dangerous acts and it doesn't work out correctly. I mean, I can't imagine the number of I can't name the number of skateboarding videos where the number of times someone has slammed their genitalia against an iron rod or something like that is amazing, and that kind of humor is very common. Um, yeah, Maximus the Knight Titus had the oft repeated joke of him being in a refrigerator in a nuclear blast. Yep. Yeah. And there's a little bit of a callback to being in a refrigerator surviving a nuclear blast because the the absurdity of refrigerator protecting someone from a nuclear blast is a little bit absurd, right? Like, I mean, there are movies that have done that before, and you just roll your eyes and shake your head, and so yeah. Yep, yep, yep. But observational humor also is used often. There's a movie and television show known as Fargo that uses this. The Office and Community uses it often. And observational humor is where oh, there's a new television procedural show called Elsbeth. That's a spinoff from The Good Wife and The Good Fight, and she's a character in it. But anyway, observational humor is where everyone is looking at the large bowl of ice cream and someone notices the fly and makes a comment about the fly. So in other words, there is a situation going on where let's go with the procedural thing. And there's a bunch of cops and detectives in a murder, in a murder scene, and everyone's like, this person may have died this way, and where's the murder weapon or something? And someone points out and goes, that person has really nice shoes on. Or someone will walk into the place and then they'll sniff the air and say something like, anybody notice that smell? And it was like, what smell? And they're like, yeah, that's the point. We don't smell anything. Don't people normally release their bowels when they die? This person didn't do that. Like there may be, it's an observation of a thing that, yes, we all see it, but that's not the point, and this person observes something else, and then that becomes the humor unto itself. It would be like a person dangling off of a roof or something, and then they notice, hey, I've never seen the city from this angle before. Or or the exact same idea where a criminal is dangling a person off a roof and they look down at their shoes and go, man, you have really great taste. And oftentimes when we attribute the observational humor to one or more oddball characters who make comment and observe things that the rest of us as participants go, yeah, why don't people observe that thing or make a mention of that thing, or why don't they notice that thing? um, Sometimes observational humor also falls into day in the life humor. So I'm going to skip over ironic humor, but day in the life humor is characters, and this really falls well with NPCs. Yeah, Caligula says, yeah, it only works with friends and loved ones die. Anyone can laugh at movie characters dying. You're so bad. You're so wrong. But uh, th- having a great um, having a great attitude is often perceived as a good thing when people are in the hospital, recovering from illnesses and injuries and things like that, procedures and such. And many times, if our patients that are in the hospital have a good feeling, they often make jokes about the very thing that was in them. Like, hey, there was a screwdriver jammed into my head. Can I keep it? Or someone makes a joke like, notice that screwdriver missed all the important parts. And then someone says, yeah, because there's nothing up in your skull to have hit. Right. And it's those kind of things. You're so bad. True. Bland peanut surprising taste of banana. Yes. If that's the case, yes. Observational humor. Um, Someone has a tumor taken out of their body and they look at it and they turn their head sideways and they're like, doesn't that humor look like one of our family members' faces or something? It's things like that. Yeah, funerals of complete strangers. Yep, going in and making comments and such. Um, Observational humor and day in the life humor is something that can uh, that I think that if you are not an expert at humor, you can do without very much trouble by applying them to NPCs. What I mean by day in the life humor is uh, we we as dramatists in our tabletop role playing game, running and gunning, feeling like superhumans, and doing incredible things in our tabletop role playing experience. Um, Maybe we can be brought down to earth by having some of our NPCs do and act and behave in ways that are day in the life. And sometimes that juxtaposition, it's the yin yanging of a thing. The dark has a little bit of light in it, the light has a little bit of dark. So an example of day in the life humor is players. Let's do fantasy. Players sneak upon a camp of the evil, I don't know, barbaric horde of orcs. Always the goblinoids, right? And the players are like, we want to listen into their conversation, and maybe one of the orcs is complaining about athlete's feet, and another orc is off by himself because uh, he's got the runs, got a little bit of diarrhea from eating something that was spoiled food or whatever. Maybe there are three orcs that are making fun of the others who are constantly winning at a particular gambling game because they're constantly cheating at the game, almost obviously cheating, but no one says anything. And day in the life humor is basically, even when we are given hard, dramatic, life and death situations, laser blast flying overhead, starships, falling back into reentry and hitting a planet, um, giant robots storming around everything. There's something very common and very casual that happens to everyone everywhere all the time, such as, hey, I got a craving for a ham and cheese sandwich, or um, boy, I think I lost my contact, or uh, damn it, I lost another button on my shirt. I keep losing the little bottom button on my shirt. What keeps happening to me? Or, you know, uh, um, you know, here's a good one. Observational humor. How many romance movies, romantic comedies even, where two people wake up first thing in the morning, and they wake up and there's that diffused light that comes through the window. There's a silken like sheets of purity that drape over top of them. They look at each other, they lean over, they get ready to kiss. And despite the fact that all of us know, damn it, when you wake the first thing up in the morning, our breath fucking stinks. No one mentions it unless they're making a joke. And if they mention that joke, not only is it a realism, it's a day in the life, it's finally someone finally mentions it. I remember watching a very humorous um, romantic comedy where at the very end of the movie, two people see each other. One's getting to get on a plane. As usual, the other unrequited love races to the airport to go see their person. They see each other across the roads at the airport, and both of them see each other, and they get ready to run towards each other. And the entire time, they're like tripping over luggage, bumping into people, having to stop because cars are beeping at them, and instead of like the classic, there's no one in the way, and they hug and embrace. It took them a while to get to each other, and by the time they got to each other, they're like covered in like milkshake, and they're like dragging a small dog or child, and there's luggage that spilled open and the wind's blowing. Like, it was very funny, and it ended like I was shaking my head, like, yeah, people don't just run randomly towards each other with open spaces. They probably would, with hundreds of people around them. Yes, they would bump into each other and other people, and so day in the lifing of NPCs and to make them human, making a comedic event human would be pretty interesting. For example, the the NPC that to humanize an NPC with the group, maybe they snore in their sleep, or maybe the NPC is uh, has a little bit has some quirks with them that they like to share with other player characters. For example, maybe they are flamboyant in their behaviors, and they learn that flamboyancy from like a bard or something. And it's very bizarre to see a I don't know, an ogre with a top hat or a floppy hat and a sissy frill shirt on or something, and the orc learned it or the ogre learned it from something, some passerby or whatever, and thought it made them look cool. But of course, the shirt doesn't fit, the hat barely fits on their head, and they're just parroting a thing that they heard, and everyone thinks it's cute. Um, Also, ironic and absurdist humor is also a thing that can happen where a an individual ironic humor is where an individual is portraying themselves maybe or making, I'm trying to be as general as possible, but and I'll give some examples in a minute, but someone is claiming to be one way and they suffer an effect that is in relationship to the way they portray themselves. So an example would be, oops, um, what the heck? Oh, my free download from Acheron Games. Well, thank you very much for there. Um, uh, let's say a character claims themselves to be the greatest swordsman in the universe, and they're constantly talking about, yeah, yeah, shit lords, and they're constantly talking about how much of a great swordsman they are because swords are their thing. No one can defeat them. And then in the middle of their speech about how good they are, they turn around and accidentally pierce themselves on their own sword, possibly harming themselves terribly or dying or something. And it may be that their words get them in trouble. We've worked with coworkers who are like this, who are sorry to make this, but this is a real life thing. On my job, I've worked with a number of what we call Bible thumpers, people who claim themselves to be extremely religious. And I've worked probably 5 or 6 of them, and 201, each of them were liars, cheats, arrogant, got fired, um, were untrustworthy, ignoramus, like get over artists, and everyone just shook their head like, really? And they constantly portray, oh, I am super religious because my religiosity is better than yours because going back to the movie Civil War, well, how religious are you? Because I'm more humble than anybody, right? And then these individuals, you look at them and go, I think thee protests too much. It's the I oftentimes look at people who are so adamant against a particular type of lifestyle or behavior and kind of squint a little bit like, why are you so upset against like the quilt bag community, right? Like why in every conversation, like, are you feeling a little, are you revealing something internal about you that you're a little bit uncomfortable with revealing to everybody else? But literally, yeah. Yeah, question mark, like Bible thumpers who end up quoted cheap motels with meth and what is, you call them, call boys? I don't know, that's a good word, call boy. I've never heard that term before, but yeah, 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 yeah. You never heard the term quilt bag community? Um, think of a uh, um, gender and or sexual identity using each of the letters of the word quilt bag. And I can't remember who brought that up to me. And it falls off the mouth easy, rather than using any other thing. So yes, if you were to put a period behind each of those letters, um, the mistress of our favorite bar just drank herself to death, age 59, and about 200 people were trying to avoid making gallows humor at the same time. Exactly. As a matter of fact, um, this is really strange. Not this isn't strange, but I approve of it. Sometimes when there are funerals, how many times have we seen the classic funeral on television? It's raining and everyone's wearing black. But here in the Midwest, they don't do that. Both the more religious people that I've gone to funerals with, it's like they call it going home, and it is a going home service. And yeah, there you go, the dead man quilt bag. And in going home services, it's all about the fun stuff. Down in Louisiana, um, New Orleans, it is known that there is a party that happens when people pass away and talk about all the great and fun things. And now I'm sure it happens more than just the Midwest, but when I moved from the East Coast to Midwest, there was a dramatic difference. I've been to so many funerals where people come with alcohol, they come with their favorite photographs, and they put the photographs up, or they have a video screen of them like having fun and things like that. And it's a joke fest. It's a it's a whole like, hey, remember when so and so did this funny thing that was ironic and funny and strange. And there's some sadness because the person isn't there, but it's a celebration of their lives, not a dour. Um, I wish they were here. It was more. I mean, there is that part of it, but there's also the okay, the Alphabet Brigade. I get it. Yep. Quilt bag. Yep. Tay says we have those parties too. Corpse stays with the family for 6 days, and we dance around it and party. It. I mean, that's now 6 days. I've heard of that here in the States. That's not normally a thing, but if some cremations and things of that nature, or just simple, the price of funerals here in the States is pretty damn high, but having a gathering where people are able to let their hair down and things like that, yeah, it's very common. Now, something else Fallout does that's pretty funny, and we're going to get to the time era of Fallout, but the last thing for the humor is the callback. And uh, the callback or the inside joke is also pretty funny as well. Meaning, like, um, the a something happens in the television show, since we're talking about Fallout, and we may or may not consider it to be funny. But then it happens again, or someone mentions it, and then we start giggling to ourselves, like, really? They're worried about that? The Jello cake is a good example in Fallout, where you have like cake and Jello, and someone's like, hey, get that Jello cake out the way or something, and you're like, really? And then it happens again, and you're like, really? And then it happens again, and you're just shaking your head like, this is obnoxiously dumb. And then it happens again, um, you know, uh, and so on and so forth. And so sometimes something isn't funny, but in the different context, the inside joke, it becomes funny. Um, yeah, no call back to the call boy. Well, I don't know. There might be something when to call back the call boy. Now, the and I never heard that called that way before. We've got on road highway truckers that are into the call boys, so I guess that's a thing. But the so let's talk about the let's see, iconography of the 1950s. And there is, let's see if we can find some images or some retro future. It's hard to find. Let's see. Let's see. Adver. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. We're going to do this instead. So here in Fallout, despite the fact that, and I did not know this because this was new to me, I thought Fallout began in the 1960s. And then when the bombs fell, the nuclear bombs fell, or atomic weapons fell, or whatever, that when they came out of the vault and the video games and this individual show came out, that this was only like 50 years later, right? Maybe if you want to stretch it 100 years later. No, this is 219 years later as far as the television show goes. And I thought the original date was like the 1950s, but it's actually 2077, and that um, the microchip and electronics hadn't advanced since the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. And so right here, what I'm showing you is a number of, let's see, something. Let's do a little dumb joke here. and some of the iconography, the advertising from the 1950s. Like this guy says, they're being very sarcastic, right? The guy says, "Don't worry, darling, you didn't burn the beer," and it's an ad for beer, and she's like crying because I guess she burned dinner because he was supposed to come home and she had supposed to have dinner made, or like here's another advertisement: you can taste the fruit, you know, Ron Tree's fruit gummies. Oh, isn't that great? And they always have the ladies. Maybe there's like Marlboro ads over here about Levi's and things like that. Uh, it's just some of the 1950s. Oh, there's another one with the super smile. Here's one, a good one with the super smile on it. What is that? Bright, colorful 1950s magazine advertisement featuring a cheerful housewife advertising a new something. It's probably some kind of some snake oil or whatever. And what I think is funny about Fallout and the 1950s advertising and that era and keeping it to that era is that there was, after World War II, there was an interest of having a brand new life, and people embracing this idealized form of life given to the United States. And when you look back at it, not at the time, most of the time when we live in a certain era, we don't see it. But when we look back at it, there was a lot of this retro future atomic, I guess you could call it atomic punk thing with chrome and big fins on automobiles, and women were the housewife, and they had their hair coiffed and they were always smiling with their dresses, and the man came home in his suit and tie, and after, I don't know, having a cocktail during the day and stuff, and there was this advertisement shot up, and anything and everything was being sold with a smile. And of course, if you wanted to keep up with the Joneses, you had a smile on your face too, because you didn't want the Joneses to know that you were struggling. So it's lots of like there was a lot of sexism. There was a lot of like un unrealistic advertising that even exists until today. That, hey, if you buy this thing, if you own this item, if you just live your life this way, your life will be perfect. And it was about dumb things like buy a washer machine, it makes your life even better. Things like that. Smoke these cigarettes, it'll be better. It was a lot of that. Mm-mm-mm. Very fun stuff. Let me see what you guys have to say. Yeah, Shai says 50s humor could be pretty risque sometimes. I think they had hilarious shit going on, just not on TV or the radio. Well, there was a lot of like risque imagery. I guess today we would call it very risque and sexist. But if you take a look back at it, you go like, "Ooh, wait a minute, oh yeah, we, it was allowed. It was, a lot of that stuff was allowed, very much so." Tasteful says, "Yeah, gigolo is a nice word too. Sounds a bit high class for what you do." Is that of a call boy? I suppose. Yeah. Exactly. Yep. I get it. Yeah, futuristic 50s. Talk about a dark future. There was a lot of like uh it's weird because much of the advertisement in the 50s was itself retrofuturism, because a lot of it was what the future holds. That's why they had chrome and fins on everything. And what is it? The classic atom symbol and orbiting symbol on lots of things to make it seem like this is the future. The refrigerators and a lot of other devices were like something omatic. It's going to be your new robot in your household or whatnot. Yeah, talk about washing machines and risque humor. Ever see that ad they had with good vibrations from the machine? I did not know that one. No. I don't know that one. But a lot of it's pretty, very, very, I wouldn't even say tongue in cheek. Some of it really hit it on the nose. And listen, this is at a time where sex always sells, but you couldn't make it sexy. So you had to figure out a way to make it that way without making it that way. So you had to like beat around the bush a little bit a bit. So like look at this particular this ad. Show her it's a man's world. Van Helsing, man's world ties, right? And look at the lady on the side, like she's on her knees, putting, and he's sitting back, like, yeah, yeah. But um, follow my tie down to my crotch is kind of the imagery here. Sorry, but that's what comes to my mind, and I'm like, maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into it, but it's yes. Even these cigarettes or cigarette ads, yeah. Players, please, always. They're really mild. The freshness in your player cigarette guarantees a better smoke for you. Oh yeah, because if you smoke, you'll be cool, and that still exists today. Especially many places here in the states where smoking is like a no-no. There are still people who are just like, I smoke. Well, I do too. Let's go outside and hang out together because we're the cool kids. Mm-mm-mm. And here's, I mean, this is clearly one, right? Yeah, make it merry, make it Mojad. I don't even know what Mojad stockings Christmas ad, and of course, like her dress is caught on a tree, pulling the dress up, just kind of making it like kind of pull it up kind of high, because it's by accident, but then we get to see like the back of the calf with the line down the back of the calf. And come on, ladies, you know what you're doing. You know exactly what you're doing. Getting to us guys. Society pages, things like that. Yeah, and there's some dark turns in some of this advertisement as well. Um, I see one. I'm not going to put it up here. YouTube's going to smack me for that one. Sugar just might be the willpower you need to curb your appetite. Misleading vintage ads about the dietary benefits of sugar. Yep, it was a lot of that stuff too. Eat more pork. But anyway, um, Fallout completely embraces this, and something that happens in Fallout, it they take the behaviors of the era and forward them into the future, so that down in the vaults, at least the vault with our main character, um, we see her surrounded by people who believe in the terminology, the behaviors, the culture of the fictional 1950s, and then they turn the volume up. So comments like "okie dokie" and "fiddlesticks" and things like that. You come back here right now, young lady, this instant. And of course, she didn't come back, and he's like, "Well, I tried. She didn't come back." Yeah. Where is the future that was promised us? Yeah, flying cars and stuff. Yeah. Drew's like, wait, you guys aren't my gigolos to entertain me? Um, there's a little there's some jiggly puff, but I don't know if it's in the right spaces. So yeah. Yeah, either that or I'm not getting paid enough. Mm-mm. Exactly, yeah. It's like, don't jiggles have to be males? Like, don't be phobic, and we can still identify as gigolos. Heck yeah. Yeah. So, now that you mentioned, I would not mind a non-binary gigolo. Listen, you can if you just need the male member, you can buy that off a shelf somewhere, right? So yeah, yeah. Well, could you imagine that? Like a lot of ladies of the night are like, I identify myself as a gigolo, and police and authorities are like, oh, well, if that's the case. Never mind. Yeah, you go free. So, um, Fallout, pretty funny, pretty hilarious. Let's throw some Fallout imagery up in here as well, so you don't guys have to stare at this. So let's go ahead and show some. Now, mind you, of course, the television show, the television show itself is very popular now. So much of the Fallout gaming stuff has been supplanted if you do a very simple search. But even this, the image of, is this a good picture? Yeah, even the image of the guy winking with the thumb in the air, I can tell you why this looks so iconic. And the person who created it, or the people who created it for Fallout, really exemplified this image. So, first of all, many times you'll see this image and it's distressed. So if it's difficult to see it from on your screen, but the blackness in the background with the guy standing with the blue and yellow jumpsuit and the gear, it's kind of distressed. So there's a little bit of like fun distressed t-shirts, distressed posters that this era used to be around, but it ain't around no more. And having that peeling old distressed look is really iconic. Also, if you take a look at him, he kind of looks like the Monopoly guy. Now, some people think the Monopoly guy had a monocle. The Monopoly guy from the Monopoly game doesn't have a monocle. I think there is an image of someone with a monocle, but I don't believe that's him. But he kind of is drawn in that simplistic art style. Um, Also, the individual isn't drawn with like a very muscular, it's just very straight lines, very average day in the life of individual. And then they have their thumb up and they're winking their eye and putting their thumb up. And that's a very simple, I would even say a little bit childish, like winking the eye and the thumb in the air. We've seen people give me a thumbs up and give the wink, and we just kind of like roll our eyes at it because it's like the wink and the thumbs up smacks of good tidings without any ramifications, without any side effects, without any cause for alarm. It is, hey, you're that is a great thing you did. Thumbs up, or hey, I see what you did there. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, and and where it's like, okay, you don't have to be so blatant with it. And lastly, we are given the explanation for the thumb in the very first episode of Fallout. I'm not giving too much away because, from what I understand, there is some realism to this. People are going back and forth that if you hold your thumb up and you see an explosion far away, if it's less than your thumb, run. If it's smaller than your thumb, run. If it's bigger than your thumb, there's no need to run because you're probably already dead. And that's to deal with like a nuclear or an atomic or hydrogen bomb explosion. That you close one eye, you hold your thumb up, you look on the horizon and see if you're dead yet or not. And pretty funny. Oh, what is that? Someone chewing the arm of our intrepid fun character. Yeah, yeah, pretty horrible. Mm-mm-mm. Fallout 76. I remember seeing the Fallout 76 sign because I remember going to the gas stations that had 76 gas stations. For many of you don't even remember what it looks like. Having don't even know what the 76 sign means. But yeah, there was a 76 gas station, and very reminiscent of that. And of course, the Fallout jumpsuit, the jumpsuiting of people is a very fun kind of thing where we always think of like um, cults and uh, what's the other term? Not just cults, but like the far future. We would have silver jumpsuits. We would all be dressed similarly, living in a fallout shelter or in a space habitat or starship or something, all wearing the same outfit and having some fun together because we all think the same and we work together. And even in the television show Fallout, there is a very funny what's the term called? Passive aggressiveness between some of our side characters who are trying to act like Mr. Peanut had the monocle. You are right. Yes, yes, yes. Deadman says, yeah, the monocle was the Pringle, the peanut guy. I can't remember the name. He had an actual name. But yes, even in the show, we had two characters who were vying for a political position being overly nice to each other as if acting like the 50s was a we're all smiles and we're all working together and we like each other, don't we? Plastic smile. Mm-mm-mm. Caligula says they're into that where I'm from. You guys are dirty. The show is another great case that the video game adaptations are possible. Now you know what? I definitely agree with you on that one. I have heard many reviews of the show, not many, short reviews of the show talking about, yeah, you can adapt video games. I think the difficulty that some writers have or fear is that the video game places you in the position of the character, and the fear is that those who watch and are a passive participant in a televised media of or movie media of a video game don't feel like they're in control as they would be as a character in the video game. And I think it's police complete horse shit, because if you're creative, you can make a story about anything and just use the information presented to you. But I do agree, the television show, from what I understand, and like I said, I've never played the video game. Many of them said that many people are saying that they ace the humor. Now, not it doesn't fall for everyone. Some people think like, well, they should have got rid of the humor, but I think there's a case to be made that the humor does uh, allow us to have a good reason for our characters to be very naive. Yeah, Deadman says the gas station was Union 76. Let's see if we can find some. Let's see some Union 76 gas station. Yeah. Mm, 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 mm. Yeah. Share. Let me share this out there. Yep, there it is. That's the Union 76 gas station. Yep. And mind you, let's see if we can find. So, of course, let's put this up here. Of course, the Union 76 gas station had its logos everywhere. And one of the iconic things about the 76, there's an image of it. There we go. Well, let's use this image here. 76 had the iconic seven orange round 76 that they would have on a giant tower that you could see from the highway. And much like Howard Johnson and other things here in the United States, where when you drove along the interstates, you would see this giant 76 and you knew that it was a gas station. And they would do like a tune up and check your oil and your washer fluid and things like that. Once cars became more and more reliable, cars could travel further, and the number of 76 gas stations you stopped at became less and less, and people needed less tune-ups and things like that. Just like the Howard Johnsons, they disappeared too, because you didn't have to stop every hour on the hour to make sure your car was oiled and kept up, because cars were pretty unreliable at a certain point, because of they were kept alive because of constant upkeep. But and of course, gas stations, and just like, let's put this up here too, just like many businesses, they like to sponsor things. So they sponsored racing, and they had their trucks and things like that. Here's a little toy based on a like a race car, NASCAR, things like that. And well, there was a gas station called Hess. It was the same exact way. And there's a 76 orb. Here's one. Destroyed 76 orbs that was spin, yeah, at the top of the gas station. So very, very, very iconic. Oh, there we go. Sorry. There it is. 76 orb. And there's the gas station, concrete gas station roof to keep the water from spilling on the outside. And there's a mail truck down there. Hey mailman, what's going on? Gas Station Glory Hole, my new band. I've seen Final Fantasy, the I think it's the Phantom Within. Is it Phantoms Within? I'll type that in a minute. The toy car is a Plymouth Super B. You sure it's not a Roadrunner? Let me go back to it. I'm gonna go back. Let's challenge each other, because I'm not exactly certain what it is. But you call it a Super B? Yeah. Let's see. Let's go with let's see. The Super B, the Road. Let's see. Muscle car. Let's see if we can find some images of. No, it's not a Roadrunner. Yeah, it's Super B. Roadrunner. Oh, is it the same? Was it the same model? It's the same model. Okay, so let's see if I can post up an image. There we go. Let's share this tab instead. There we go. It looks like a cover of a muscle car magazine, maybe, or an ad. Charger, Super Roadrunner, and Super B. No, no, no. It's probably one of those, and it's not showing up. I thought I could get there has to be both of those cars next to each other, and they might literally be identical except for like a nose cone or something like that. But yeah, yeah, and it depends on what year too. I used to be super into cars. Now I can't start naming them. Yeah, Drew's like yeah, all the U.S. cars look the same. I know, because it's Spirits Within. That's the one I saw, not the Phantoms. It's Spirits Within. Mm-mm-mm. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, I used to be super in the cars. And during the muscle car era, it was only like 65 to like 72 ish. Um, 70 was the heyday, and then they were like, too many gas guzzlers, too much. Like this kid, like, why? Look at that spoiler in the back of that car. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, This is the road. This is a Roadrunner. Roadrunner Superbird. So weird. But anyway, let's go back to the 50s, let's go back to Fallout because I think we should do that instead. Oh, all right. So, guys, thank you so much for letting me just be a little bit funny. I'm not sure if you guys really want to talk about much more in Fallout. I didn't mention anything about the way it was portrayed with the different factions and the plot of the show. Drew says, "I see we entered spoiler territory. Did we? I don't know. I don't think we. If I did it by accident, I apologize for that. I wasn't trying to. Spoiler territory. My ass. I'm a dumbass. Yeah, yeah, I was. He says, I meant the car spoilers. You are so correct, Drew. By the way, thank you very much for turning me on to science fiction with damn Daniel Walters, whatever. I just saw it this morning. Or the specific video you said you popped it. I just saw it this morning on television. Yes, very much so. Very funny and ironic. And I was shaking my head. He's like, "Yeah, Civil War is about us thinking of war as a LARP," and I was like, "Yeah, yes, very much so." Yeah, very similar ideas, and I agree. I both agree with the person and agree with you that we have similar ideas about the movie Civil War and how people don't get it because everyone was expecting that movie to reflect their own ideas and as opposed to watching the movie for what it was. I don't know about those cars. I have to look those up. And there's plenty of like I'm going to just say call it Euro theater cars that have never made it over here, or they're very rare over here. Um, yeah, a lot of foreign cars that have never made it over here and were brilliant and awesome cars. Yeah, some were trash, but there was as a car culture, United States being a car culture kind of thing. It's kind of cool. But listen, I have to do a callback, a summary about using humor. And I didn't mention this up front, and I guess I really should have, that humor allows us to break the tension. And there's nothing wrong with having humor in our tabletop role playing games and experiences. Oftentimes, much like post apocalyptic stories, we're talking about Fallout, but humor is often used more than we think it is in the horror genre to break tension. Sometimes the humor actually comes about not because of what we see on the screen, television or movies with the jump scares, but that the jump scare itself pushes us into first being shocked and surprised, And then we release tension by laughing at ourselves, by being surprised by the jump scare. We often, because of how movies are done, it's and we listen. We all know the actual trope of the jump scare, where we follow someone from behind, and then an arm reaches out and taps them on the shoulder. Or our character enters a room, looks around the room, but never looks behind the door, and there's something behind the door. Or there's a sound, and they don't know what the sound is. And of course, what happens? A cat jumps down, and or something falls off a shelf, or a small animal runs in front of them, and then a person goes, ah, and they jump, and then we jump, and then we laugh at them because they're laughing at themselves, and it diffuses the tension, and then something horrible happens immediately right after attention is diffused by taking us off guard. Now, is that a trope that's often used a lot? Yes. The jump scare, diffused tension, horror, something happens. And so that happens a lot. Sometimes we are, uh, tension is created and surprise is created by having someone, like using humor to have someone say or do something that's humorous at the time, very life day in the life of, or very observational, or very ironic or absurdist, that the person performs that action, and then when they say that thing, something pretty horrible happens, like our main character in Fallout, using okie dokie, which is we learn that, yes, her comment saying that seems very funny, childish, even naive. But as our character grows, when she starts to use the term okie dokie, we understand that she's steeling herself. Her willpower is set against, dare I say, the native culture, and she's traveling through the labyrinth, right? So, talking about the heroine's labyrinth, she steals herself and says okie dokie, and we're finding that the callback, the inside humor of that comment, is given more context as our main character travels around this world. Also, uh, what's often happens in horror stories is that you it's very difficult to keep the tension rising, because at a certain point the tension will rise so high that we ourselves will plateau out. We won't be surprised by it anymore. That's why you can't. There are some action movies that have so much action in them that we just get bored with it, because there's no. There should be a rhythm. It's much like listening to music that has the exact same rhythm to it, and at a certain point, or says the same words over and over again. Or you read a novel and the same things happen to the characters over and over again. And at a certain point, we go, this is good. This is good. This is all right. This is entertaining. No, this is boring. Oh, am I going to read another chapter where the character does or goes through or accepts the exact same thing over again? And so we need to break that tension. And sometimes humor does that. And instead of having jokety joke, doo 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 in horror, many times some of us that take our horror very seriously, uh, let's do a call back to the movie Civil War. There is humor in that movie, but it is all observational, and it is all day in the life styled humor that happens in it. It can be, and some of it is very tasteless when our characters perform certain things, to the point that some people watch the movie and go, what the hell were they thinking when they perform these actions? And so, yeah. Kalia says, I hope people make jokes at my funeral if I can ever afford a funeral. Well, you don't have to. Listen, there are, you don't need any money to have people gather together to pay homage to your passing. That's just what would be a term for it? There is a there is the placing of a body in the ground styled funeral, and then there is a remembrance, and you can have a remembrance anytime. We did a remembrance for my father-in-law 6 months later, because he passed away during the height of COVID, and we couldn't get together. And many people drove from many states. We went to Atlanta, so we had people from Ohio, Louisiana, Alabama, Texas. Oh, I can't remember the other states. Anyway, so yeah, yeah, yeah. You can have a remembrance at any time. Dacias, Dacias from the 50s are still running. Car doc. Let's see if we can find any. Share this out here. Boop, boop. Tell me if you recognize any of these. These are pretty. These are what we call crossovers, small SUVs. Let me put 1950s in here. Let's see if that comes up better. There we go. There we are. Yep, yep, yep. Hmm. Something familiar. I've seen these older ones. I swear I've seen them. I can't. I couldn't be on the streets, but I swear. Don't know. Anyway, um, stop. You're so wrong. You're so wrong. Yeah, I don't know why people think viruses are the absolute worst weapon in the world. They're just it's stupid. Oh man. Yep, yep, yep. Speaking of humor, when you have to do the same thing over and over again, ever seen that Star Trek Borg interactive computer game? No, I have not seen. I have not seen that one. I have not. I've heard. What's the game called? No Man's Sky is kind of like that too. I've heard that before. You said it right the first time. Congratulations. You're funny. These are the recent Dachas. They were way different under communism. Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't know. We have to have, I don't know how we're going to set it up, but we have to have some sort of like um, meeting of the minds in a cross cultural. I don't know how to do it. And I don't know what the theme would be, but I would love for us to have some kind of like cross culturalization tabletop collective or something. I don't know what I'm thinking, but I'll mull it over in my head and come up with something later on. They're cooler looking than other com block cars. Trabants and Ladas or Ladas are ugly as hell. That's also cool. Yeah. Shai says it is really funny. Q is telling hilarious jokes every time. Have to die and start over again. I did not know that. Um, wow, yeah, Q is a bit of a hilarious character in the Star Trek universe. Hadn't thought about that, but yeah, Q is a bit of a hilarious character. So, guys, thank you very much for letting me delve into the. Yeah, we could use the Discord as our own vault. You're so right. No one else, no one invited except for someone's going to have to make the Jello cake, and I don't know who. Guys, so thank you very much for letting me talk just a little bit about humor and adding humor into tabletop games. I suppose we could delve even deeper, but humor allows us to um, what is the movie version? The movie there is a movie trait called "kick the dog, save the cat," and it is shorthand for letting us know who are the people we should love and the people we should hate in movies and television. And the kick the dog, save the cat ism is often a shorthand so that we can very easily identify the people we should like and hate. And sometimes humor is the way that we follow some of our favorite characters, or at least what the writers are trying to say, the creators, the director, writer, producers are trying to tell us these three characters, we're supposed to like them because they're funny, they are observational, they are observational characters and humorous characters are those who accept reality and make mention of it with our main characters and help them out. So that means that they are perceptive, and often perceptive people tend to be rational or at least um, perceptive about their environment and don't walk into things. uh, without open eyes. Now we do have characters that we love that are a bit naive, but their naivete doesn't mean they're not observant. It means that their naivete is their strength. And the kick the dog, save the cat mantra basically is our character does an evil thing, kick the dog, and we see them. And sometimes that is ignoring people in harm's way. Our NPC takes advantage of a thing that normally they shouldn't in a polite society, or they are super serious characters that we don't like. They're super serious in a moment when maybe there is a time to laugh, even if it is a little bit of a gallows humor. Maybe we should laugh. And sometimes those characters, those NPCs we don't like, tell everybody you shouldn't be laughing, you shouldn't be having fun, get back to work, right? But our characters we like tend to be day in the life of that. They are the nurses, they are the caretakers, and sometimes the caretaking isn't just healing wounds. Sometimes it's taking care of people's personalities. For example, they might be a cook, or they might sing songs, or they tell jokes, or they take care of animals, save the cat. They may also alleviate some of the grand tension our main characters have, or distract others by being funny and letting the main characters, who are super serious player characters, perform a thing because the NPC is very funny. So yeah, yep. Clay says, "Good show, thanks." Going to think of some gallows jokes now. Yeah. Um, Listen, I remember when let's go back in the day. I'm an old grognard. I remember back in the day when Twitter was used for nothing but dirty, bad, tasteless jokes. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember the very beginnings of the first couple of years of Twitter, that it was just a place where people posted because you only had 140 characters, no images, no nothing, and people would post like dead baby jokes and things like that, and like really sexist or extremely gallows, you know, dead bodies, dying people jokes and things like that. And that used to be a thing. I remember James Gunn, the director, got fired for making those dirty jokes because he was part of a comedy troupe um, creator, and a lot of those jokes were very uh, they were the type of jokes that today people get canceled over, but at the time that was a thing. So yeah, I'm old enough to remember that. Maybe that's why I never got into Twitter, because it never seemed that funny. Because there were you for every good joke there were like 10 to 15 really bad ones, and I didn't want to dig through it. Deadman says it was 120 characters originally, then it was 240. I thought it was 140, 280, but I couldn't remember. Maybe that's from something else. A propos dog. I liked how the ghoul interacted with dogs, including injuring dog meat and then healing it. You know what? You are so right. Our ghoulish gunman, the ghoul in the television show Fallout. You know what he did? He healed the dog. And if that ain't a save the cat moment, I know he's dog's not a cat, but we we think that me, from my point of view, I was like, I guess the ghoul's going to be the bad guy. And then I realized what he did, and I was like, oh, okay. And of course, the flashbacks help too. But that's definitely a thing. Yeah, but yeah, Deadman, I'm sure you were absolutely correct. I just don't remember what was 140. It was a weird number too. The internet is only used for tasteless, bad, dirty jokes. Yeah. Oh man. But yeah. I mean, I don't know. There's plenty of gallows humor. But anyway, I'm not going to hold you guys. I got to get out of here. Got to get out of this place. I don't know when I'll ever get back except for tomorrow. And let's talk about, we're still going to do some Fermi paradox stuff. Cooper Howard, that's his real name. Thank you there, D. Cooper Howard. Woo, my brain just. So we're going to do some more of that. We're going to talk about. We will talk further about the neighborhoods in Venus. Yes, we even talk about the how easy it is to do a Freudian slip when talking about the planet Venus, uh, and such. Yeah, cancel culture made the internet even funnier. Yep, idiots outing themselves as busybody pearl clutchers by being stupid in public. Hell's yes, hell's yes, because it, it's like people who um are animal rights activists who wouldn't hesitate to crush a cockroach, right? It's like I think you're only being that way because of a thing you don't like. Whereas when I admit that I'm a bit of a hypocrite because there's some things I do like and some things I don't, we're using the exact same rules that I have. No, I don't know, Drew. I think I'm wrong. I'm conflating something in my brain, and especially when we're live, it's very difficult to like unconflate a thing, especially when the wrong thing speaks out the side of my neck. Yeah, yeah. SJW so easy to trigger never ending comedy. I think, but I also think that for people who there's also people who want the ability to say anything they want and not receive a response to the words that are used. Because there's a little bit of that arrogance out there, right? Like there's quite a bit of like, oh, I don't know why I'm being treated unfairly for saying what I want. It's just because people just want to be able to say the things that they want without having other people react to the what's saying for good or usually bad, of course, bad. But yeah, there's a whole like for example, um my easy go-to for finding out who are assholes here in the states especially are those who are like, why can't I say the n-word? And then I just shake my head like, yeah, anybody who's like has a desire, like if your goal in life is to be like, well, I don't understand why I can't say that word, I already know that you, it's like that. I think there's more important things to worry about. Yeah. Demi says, I just checked and it started at 140 and then changed to 280. Ah, you know what? I thought I was wrong, but I was mistaken. Got to make that T-shirt. Yeah, yeah. I thought I was wrong, but I was mistaken. Anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you also for just being. I don't know why I don't do this. I suppose I should tell everybody about um, the Call of Cthulhu adventures that are being produced over on Drive Through RPG under the Miskatonic repository. I should be talking about working with Mark Tassin and um, uh, Owen KC Stevens and a bunch of people over at a cool name goes here RPG, and I should be talking about these things. I don't know. Yeah, shitlord says the N word is taking it to extremes. Yeah, I don't appreciate the word itself, and I can't stand the fact that young people continue to use it. But guess what? It's a leftover from a time period that maybe shouldn't have happened, and the people are reminded of it. So, in a dark way that I don't approve of, I appreciate the fact that there are still people today who feel uncomfortable in how they should feel about a time period that their ancestors probably had a big part in. I'm with you there, shitlords. Oh yeah, yeah, hell's yes, hell yeah, hell yeah. I'm with you. You as well as all you guys are our resident triggerers. I guess would be the same way. So in a weird way, this is a safe place to be kind of off color here. So I really appreciate that as well. You guys are our own gallows humor by pointing out the absurdity of life itself. And I suppose I should get rid of the tabletop role playing part of it, but I like it. Yeah, yeah. Shai says, yeah, it's a fine line. A snappy comeback is better when active trolling. And yeah, end jokes are only funny when Dave Chappelle said it 20 years ago. Who did a hilariously poignant skit that you guys have to see. That with the blind KKK member that was black and his best friends were white because he was more racist than they were was hilarious. Hilarious. The racist Olympics is another one that's hilarious. Bill Burr does a bunch of skits that are still floating around now on YouTube. That is very funny when it comes to absurdity in humor and pointing out observational humor. And yeah, I don't think the emoji is going to show up there. Safe space for shit lords. Well, all of you lords, I don't know how you're able to have a political consensus, but since you all of you lords are like talking a lot of shit, we really appreciate it. So, guys, have a great one. You yourself and everybody else. I'm not ignoring everyone else as well. Um, again, we're going to go with the Fermi paradox stuff. Of course, we're going to do Obsidian Star, more of that. I think there needs to be a narrowing down a little bit more of it. We're going to talk about Venus and its impact in the world and how the world building on Venus in the different neighborhoods, the vertical neighborhoods thereof. And you guys have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I got to get out of your time is very valuable. I appreciate you spending your valuable time here. I hope I'm able to make some change in your lives. Yes, exactly, Shice. Yeah. I hope you are able to have some change in your life. Guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. By the way, call to action. You guys know what the call to action is. Like, share, subscribe, thumb, notify, go over to Twitch even. Get some of those people to join in. Whatever. I don't care. Do the damn thing. Guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Peace and tranquility.